Whovians are among the most knowledgeable and passionate fans in the world, but there are some surprises that even they might be shocked by. The world of Doctor Who is far broader than what you see on TV. Like any drama, some of the juiciest stuff takes place behind the cameras, and it's those secrets that will make you view the show in a very different light. So, with that in mind, I'm Ellie with Who Culture, here with 10 Doctor Who secrets everyone knows but you. Number 10. The Twin Pilots. Doctor Who kicked off on the 23rd of November 1963 with the show's first episode, An Unearthly Child. In this adventure, we meet the Doctor, played by William Hartnell, for the first time. He's parked the TARDIS in a scrapyard in England, kept company by his granddaughter Susan. Don't ask why the Doctor has a grandchild, it's far too complex to get into that right now, alright? As pilot episodes go, An Unearthly Child did the job just fine. It introduced the characters, the premise, and the rules of the universe perfectly well. The first version of An Unearthly Child was deemed not good enough by the show's creator Sidney Newman. He didn't like the way the Doctor was dressed or how mean he was to his granddaughter, and as a result, huge chunks of it were re-filmed and a second version was put together, with the first version not being publicly released until 1991. It does feel rather fitting, though, that a show all about regeneration actually went through a few different incarnations itself before broadcast. Number 9. The Plot Whisperer. The Series 3 finale, Last of the Time Lords, features a bunch of flashback shots which take us back to the closing moment of the previous episode, The Sound of Drums. In these shots, we see the Doctor whisper something in Martha's ear, but we don't actually hear it for ourselves. In the end, we learn that he says, "Use the countdown," an instruction for Martha to turn the Master's own plan against him. In reality, though, David Tennant didn't say that at all. What he actually did was whisper the entire plot of Last of the Time Lords into Freema Agyeman's ears so that the director, who left the camera running while Tennant spoke, had a lot of footage in the can, allowing him to pick and choose which shots he wanted for the flashbacks. You'd imagine that a cheeky chappy like Tennant would whisper something mischievous into his co-star's ear, which is exactly what Alex Kingston did to him while shooting the Library two-parter in Series 4, where she whispered Shaniqua into his ear. But now you know that he actually played it dead straight. Number 8. Battling the Budget. Now, it's no secret that Doctor Who's budgets haven't always been on par with its sci-fi peers, but you might be surprised to learn just how little money the show had in those early days. Various sources place the budget for its first season at around £2,000 an episode. An Unearthly Child, the show's debut serial, had 4 episodes, so that's less than £10,000 for the entire story. Now, according to the Bank of England's inflation calculator, that £2,000 is only worth £32,000 today. For comparison, 1966's Star Trek The Original Series reportedly commanded a budget closer to $190,000 per episode, or $1.7 million today. With so few resources at its disposal, it's actually amazing that Doctor Who became as successful as it did. Thankfully, with reports that the upcoming Series 14 could reach a budget of £10 million per episode, which is on par with Game of Thrones, Doctor Who's financial woes are firmly a thing of the past. Number 7. Origins of the TARDIS. The Doctor's trusty time machine and occasional wife is a big blue box that is, altogether now, bigger on the inside. It's been there since the very start of the show, and its exterior appearance hasn't changed all that much over the years. On the inside, though, it's been completely redecorated about a dozen times by now. But what are the round things? No idea. The story goes that the TARDIS was designed to look like a British phone box for that most reliable of reasons: budget constraints. While some sources claim that the TARDIS was created specifically for Doctor Who, conflicting reports indicate that it was actually nicked from another BBC show. Zed Cars and Dixon of Dock Green are the prime suspects, with the latter even being cited by Stephen Moffat. The original TARDIS prop remained in use for 13 years until it was literally falling apart. According to Elizabeth Sladen herself, it once collapsed right on top of her. And speaking of that wonderful lady, number 6, the original Sarah Jane Smith. Now, this particular story is one that hardcore Whovians will definitely be familiar with, but more casual fans might not know that we came startlingly close to never having Elizabeth Sladen as legendary companion Sarah Jane Smith. Sladen debuted in the role in 1973, but Sarah Jane almost looked very different to how we know her today. The part was originally given to actress April Walker, best known for her appearances in classic British comedies such as The Two Ronnies and Fawlty Towers. The producers of Doctor Who thought that third Doctor John Pertwee wouldn't mind Walker's casting, as the two had previously worked together. How wrong they were. During rehearsals, it became clear that the chemistry just wasn't there, with Pertwee reportedly complaining about Walker being taller than he was. I mean, insecure much? And so, that was the end of that, and Sladen was brought in as Walker's replacement. It is hard to imagine anyone else playing the role of Sarah Jane, but one has to feel sorry for Walker, who just missed out on the role of a lifetime. Number 5. Dr. Jackson. Now, speculation always runs wild whenever it's announced that a new actor will be playing the Doctor. But has anyone ever had the King of Pop on their Doctor Who wishlist? Well, that nearly happened, with Paramount Pictures very keen on having Michael Jackson play the main role in a big screen adaptation of Doctor Who in the late 1980s. They were apparently impressed with the success of his film Moonwalker and wanted to take the title to its literal extreme. Jackson's casting would have been monumental in numerous ways. He would have been the first non-white and non-British person to portray the character. He also would have created the weirdest version of the Doctor ever because, well, he's Michael freaking Jackson. While this casting nor the movie itself never happened, it's incredible to think what might have been had Paramount been insane enough to go through with it. What's that? They had a second choice actor if Jackson said no? Who was it? Bill Cosby? Oh boy. Number 4, an English Pond. Amy Pond's Scottishness is one of the most integral parts of her character. It's not just impossible to imagine her without it, but the show even makes a point of calling her the Scottish girl in the English village, pointing out that she's something of an outsider just like the Doctor. So it might surprise you to learn that not only was the English in Stephen Moffat's original plan for Series 5, but her accent wasn't even decided until after Karen Gillan was cast. In an interview in 2010, Karen Gillan said, "I auditioned using an English accent and my own. When I was recalled, I did my own accent, and we were still in talks about the accent when I got the role. I'm really happy it worked out that way." So are we, Karen. So are we. During the 11th Hour's commentary track, it's mentioned that the creatives went back and forth before ultimately deciding to make her Scottish. Looking back, it seems like the most obvious decision in the world, so it's insane to think that we almost ended up with a much different version of the character. Number 3, Hans Zimmer in distress. When Doctor Who was facing cancellation in the mid-1980s, some of its staff members decided that the only way to save it was to record and release a charity single. Sure, that makes sense. Doctor in Distress was unleashed into the world in 1985. It featured vocals from various actors from the show, including Colin Baker, as well as members of bands such as the Moody Blues and Ultravox. Now, most fans will know about the song by now, but did you know that Hans Zimmer, yes, the Hans Zimmer, the Oscar-winning composer of The Lion King, Pirates of the Caribbean, Inception, and The Dark Knight, played the music for the track? Though hardly his finest work, the fact that Hans bloody Zimmer was involved in the song makes it 10 times more noteworthy than it has any right to be. Doctor Who has so many before they were famous actor appearances, but this cameo from one of the greatest composers in film history is right at the top of the pile. Number 2, Patrick Troughton death rumours. Patrick Troughton was given the unenviable task of replacing William Hartnell in 1966. Thanks to his success, Doctor Who has survived for decades through its ability to change its lead actor. But that's enough praising the man. Let's talk about some dodgy rumours surrounding his death. Troughton passed away on the 28th of March 1987 while attending a convention in the United States. He'd been warned by his doctors, the medical kind, not the time travel kind, not to leave the UK because of his weak heart, but he ignored this advice. Shortly after ordering breakfast at his hotel, Troughton suffered a heart attack and died at the far too young age of 67. While his death was a tragic loss, that hasn't stopped the Who community from speculating on the real cause of his passing. Now, a rumour has done the rounds that Troughton's fatal cardiac arrest was caused by him having slept with a fan at the convention. Now, despite it never having been proven, this theory has persisted for many years and will probably persist for many more. But remember, this is pure conjecture. We really don't want to get sued, and also, it's not kind to speak ill of the dead. Number 1, the Weeping Angels are real. Of all the monsters not to be pursued by in real life, the Weeping Angels probably rank close to the top. Daleks? Easy, just walk around the back of them and hide from their plunger. But those evil statues aren't just creepy, they're also relentless, meaning that you'd never get a moment's peace. They also send you back in time rather than killing you outright, making your death a slow and lonely one. Thank goodness that they're fictional then. Right? Well, maybe not. According to the Angel's creator Stephen Moffat, the idea of these creatures came from a real-life experience that he had while walking past a graveyard. He spotted a statue inside the cemetery, an angel with its hands over its eyes. Years later, he returned to the graveyard to find that everything was as he left it, except the angel was gone. Oh dear. So this story really speaks more to the creativity of Moffat than anything else. To get from here to one of the most iconic villains in Doctor Who is nothing short of genius. And that concludes our list. If you think we missed something, then do let us know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss a Who Culture video again. Also head over to Twitter and follow us there, and Instagram as well. And I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild, search for Sean Ferrick as well, and Dan the Meegs too. I've been Ellie with Who Culture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.